second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Trooper Gary Burke, and he is to give us some information in reference to the life and times of a United States colored trooper. And Gary, let's have you to talk about your situation when you first became involved with the war itself, coming out of a situation of, I'm not sure whether you were a slave or whatever, but talk about your situation.
Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. I have to start out saluting our ancestors because that's why I sit here today. I remember like it was yesterday. It was a cold day in Nashville. I was a free black man at that time, around the 1860s. There was a little over about 1,500 free blacks. And I saw my people as they came into town to do different tasks for their masters. And I couldn't understand why was I so blessed. And I didn't know what to do about that. So I kept on working as a teamster, getting odd jobs for my family to help support. I heard this story about a war starting. I didn't know what a war was. Anything hadn't happened like that before. But as I heard the rumors going around, they said they were signing black men up. There was some document they called the Emancipation Proclamation, I believe. And it freed some of our people. I had a choice to make. What am I going to do? Am I going to sit down or am I going to stand up? So I decided to stand up. Around Nashville at that time, the talk was about the Union soldiers might be coming too, and they start marching into town around 1862, and they were building this fort called Fort Negley, I believe. And I remember it was a Sunday morning. My sister and I were in church. We were getting our praise, thanking God for our freedom. And then the door swung wide open. And here come these men in blue suits coming in with guns, taking us all out. They marched us to this place they affectionately called St. Cloud Hill. Today they call it Fort Negley. Well, they forced us in these work groups. They called us contraband, I believe is the name that they used. They lumped us all together to do tenuous tasks on this fort. It took almost 6 months to build that fort. Some of us were strong enough to make it. My sister was not. And that's what I sang that song for, is to my sister when I stand at her grave, because she wasn't strong enough to make it. As more men started to fall on the Union side, there was more rumors about signing up for the Union Army. So I went to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and they were signing up African Americans there. And I signed up on a regiment called the 13th United States Colored Troops Regiment. They're an infantry regiment. We got our training there at a place they call Fortress Rosecrans. We got formal training and our marching and those duties that revolved around soldiering. Next thing we knew, we ended up in Nashville on a railroad. Our first assignment, we went to this place called Johnsonville. We didn't know if we were going to get to fight. They had us down there guarding railroads, and we heard about some of these Rebs that might be coming through to take our supplies. We wasn't going to let that happen. But we were ready. We'd been marching, we'd been practicing, we'd been praying. Well, around about that time, I believe General Nathan Bedford Forrest came through with some of his raiders and tried to attack us, but we repelled them back, and we were able to keep forming together. As the Battle of Nashville was coming into fruition, it was around December of 1864. came back to Nashville. On the 15th, it was a cold, foggy, inclement day. Our generals, our leaders at that time, wanted to march us in formation early, about 6 a.m., try to surprise the Rebs. We marched down the Murfreesboro Turnpike. It's this place today they call Granbury's Lunette. Well, General Granbury was a general who was killed in the Battle of Franklin right before they got to Nashville, so his men were already angry. When he saw those U.S. colored troops marching, oh, they were mad. Former slaves wearing uniforms like gentlemen, carrying guns, they didn't like that at all. Well, our leadership led us poorly. We were starting to get ambushed. We jumped in this place called the Railroad Cut. They picked us off like we were in a barrel. It was horrific sights. They used something called canisters. I think today if you used a coffee can, it was full of these bullets they call mini balls, like I'm holding right here. They would just fly out and just rip flesh to shreds. It was a horrific sight. But we didn't turn back. The next day we regrouped. We marched to a place called Peach Orchard Hill. It's the home of Judge John Overton at the Travelers Rest Plantation. I believe we marched into freedom that day. As we marched, there were 5 color bearers, which I am one. That's the one who has the honor to carry the flag. 5 of them were killed before I got a chance to get to the top. Bullets flying left and right. I was able to wave it as I was at the top, but they later pushed us back. And as we regrouped, we had more support from other regiments. We ultimately won the Battle of Nashville. I think about the words that our great emancipator Frederick Douglass said, that once let the black man get the letters U.S. upon his person, let him get eagle on his bullet, on his buttons, musket on his shoulder, and bullets in his pocket, and there is no force on earth that can deny his right to citizenship. That's what Frederick Douglass said.
And of course, let me take this the second commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll continue our narrative here. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.